On November 3rd, 1998, 8-year-old Maddie Clifton disappeared around 5 p.m. from her home in Jacksonville, Florida. She was last known to be playing outside before her mother reported her missing after noticing that her little girl was nowhere to be seen. An entire town sprung into action while the whole nation watched. Hundreds of volunteers joined search parties, camera crews flocked to the suburbs, and two parents tried not to despair. Then, after a week of relentless efforts, Maddie Clifton was found dead under the bed of her 14-year-old neighbor, Josh Phillips. But before we get on with the case, please subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. Also, turn on the notification bell so you can get notified whenever I post my next video. And without any further ado, let's get on with the case. So, Maddie Clifton was born on June 17, 1990, in Jacksonville, Florida, to parents Steve and Sheila Clifton. She was raised at a time when parents allowed their children to roam freely. The Columbine High School shooting had yet to curb that lenience, and the fear of terrorism had yet to blanket the nation. She was told to play outside on November 3rd, 1998, and Maddie Clifton did just that. One of the neighbors that Maddie Clifton made friends with was an 14-year-old boy named Joshua Phillips, who had lived across the street from her. According to Maddie Clifton's mother, Josh and Maddie were good friends before the incident, despite the age difference. Joshua Phillips was born on March 17, 1984, in Allentown, Pennsylvania. But in the early 1990s, his family moved across the street from the Cliftons in Florida. His father, Steve Phillips, a computer specialist, was incredibly strict and violent towards his wife, Melissa, and Josh. Steve also became furious if other children were in his house without him. Even more so if he had been drinking, which he often had been. And as fate would have it, the freedom of one young girl and the fears of an abused teen would clash to deadly results. According to Josh, he was simply playing baseball when Maddie asked to play with him. And knowing his parents were away, he hesitantly said yes. But then, according to his account, he accidentally hit her in the face with his ball. She cried out, screaming, and Josh, fearing reprisal if they came home and found another child in the house. So he took her inside and strangled her and beat her with a baseball bat to keep her quiet. Then he pushed her unconscious body underneath his waterbed before his parents got home. At around 5 p.m., Sheila Clifton reported her daughter missing to the police. Before nightfall, however, Phillips removed his mattress and slit the girl's throat. With his Leatherman multi-tool knife, he stabbed Maddie Clifton in the chest 7 times and then put his water-filled mattress back on the bed frame. He put the corpse of an 8-year-old girl under his bed. Steve and his wife returned home shortly after. Acting like nothing was wrong, Josh left his room to speak with them for a little while before going back into his room. For the next 7 days, the Lakewood neighborhood became the lifeblood of tabloids and news reports on Clifton's disappearance. Even the Phillips household joined in her search. Josh was being one of the most devoted of the search party. Josh literally slept on top of a corpse for almost a week. Despite it being a waterbed mattress, he still would have felt the lump beneath him. We often see some killers helping out in murder cases and joining in search parties. According to some experts, they believe that it is a way for them to stay close to the investigation to reassure themselves that they're not suspected for the crime. After being asked about getting involved in the search party in an interview, Josh replied, "I was putting myself in a fantasy world that nothing had happened. That was my defense mechanism for everything when I was a kid. I never made the decision to ignore it, I just did. On November 10th, Steve and Sheila Clifton were wrapping a televised interview they hoped would help to find their daughter. At the precise moment, Melissa Phillips was cleaning her son's room and noticed his waterbed was leaking, or so she thought. Looking closer, she found Clifton's body and ran outside to alert an officer. The police were stunned as they had searched the Phillips home 3 times, but mistaken the stench of Maddie Clifton's corpse for the smell of several birds the family kept as pets. The FBI even became involved because the local police had failed to yield results. A $100,000 reward was offered for anyone that could lead to Clifton's safe return. Before November 10, Phillips was merely a 9th grader with a C average at the A. Philip Randolph Academies of Technology was arrested in school within the moments of discovering the body. He was charged with first-degree murder, and soon, well, not surprisingly, he was the focal point of national news broadcasts. Those who knew him were in shock. "The students can't fathom him doing something like this," said Randolph principal Jerome Wheeler. "They say Josh? Josh? Is it Josh? Like they say his name 2 or 3 times. They cannot believe this." In fact, so many people in the tight-knit neighborhood were in disbelief once news spread about Maddie Clifton's murderer, that a judge ordered his trial to take place in a county halfway across the state in the hope of curbing jury bias. Phillips' attorney, Richard D. Nichols, didn't put a single witness on the stand, hoping to use his closing argument as the lion's share of his defense, that Phillips was a scared child acting in desperation. The highly publicized trial began on July 6, 1999, and lasted only 2 days. Jurors deliberated for barely more than 2 hours before finding Josh Phillips guilty of first-degree murder. On August 26, the judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. After the Supreme Court found that mandatory life sentences for juveniles were unconstitutional, in 2012, Phillips became eligible for a resentencing hearing. Maddie Clifton's sister was terrified that he would go free. "She doesn't get a chance to walk on this earth again, so why would he?" she said. But when his resentencing date came up in 2017, the judge upheld the original sentence, ensuring that Josh Phillips would spend the rest of his years in prison. But why did Josh finish poor Maddie off with a knife after realizing he had a second chance of letting the girl live? Was it fear of his father? But fear or no fear, the boy would have known that murder is amongst the worst things a person can do. Far worse than having friends over when his parents were not at home. Josh's father, Steve Phillips, died in 2000 from a car accident 1 year after his son's first trial. Josh has since finished his high school diploma while in prison and is now a law clerk who helps other inmates with legal advice when appealing their cases. In 2008, Josh was asked to write an apology letter to the Clifton family, but Josh refused, claiming that he believed he wouldn't be able to convey his full regret with just written words. And with that being said, Maddie Clifton's mother has continuously stated that she doesn't want to ever see Josh in person again, not even for an apology. And she's right, in a way. He killed her daughter. She's never gonna see Maddie again. Eventually, Josh had written the letter and read it in court. He apologized and told those who's listening that he regretted his actions all those years ago.
This is for the family of Maddie Clifton. I've wanted to say this for a very long time, and I'm grateful that this chance to do so in person has arrived. I don't pretend to know or understand your pain or to grasp the void that I've created in your lives. I can say this: I do understand pain. I have become quite intimate with suffering. Growing up in prison, I've seen many dark things, and I've been to some dark places. Many times throughout this journey, I came dreadfully close to ending my life just to escape it all. During these times, I was embroiled in a flurry of emotions and feelings: guilt, despair, pain, hopelessness, fear, and shame. Each time, I was somehow able to continue on, mostly because I couldn't stand to put my mother through any more trauma. She's been through enough. There were times that I was angry at her because I couldn't end my pain because of her love. Yet now, I'm eternally grateful to her. I'm grateful to her because as I've grown up, I have learned the value of life. I've learned to see the beauty and joy in a world full of strife and experience the truth of unconditional love. I wish to God that I could have known this or understood it when I was 14. Had I then, none of this would have come about. I had no clue what life meant, what death meant, nor the depths of suffering that could follow one act. I had no inkling of how long that suffering could last. I hadn't lived long enough to understand the time involved or what really suffering was. I did something horrible. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for what happened.
But that is all I have for this case. Thank you all for watching, and let me know about your thoughts on the comment section below. Should Joshua Phillips be released? Personally, I don't think he should. He took one innocent life for forever. Maddie Clifton was only 8 years old. She was a naive, smiley, and a very soft-hearted kid who just wanted to play with him. Anyways, please subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. And also please let me know about the cases that you want me to cover in the comment section below. I'll be very happy to cover some cases for you guys. So yeah, again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Till then, stay safe.